Yes.
Something.
Is that what you think?
Yes.
You don't know Jason Rothenberg.
So he's going to kill you off, but still make you do breath.
There's always flashbacks.
You're just alone in that ship, and well, I mean, they indicated that they were going to try and figure out a way to get your character down onto Earth. So you're really not going to tell us anything.
I don't even know why I'm here. I should be with
because you can't say anything.
I'm a walking cliffhanger. I don't really get it. I know. The other adults are working.
Well, I have a question for you that doesn't involve any spoilers. The show's so dark, which it's great because of that, but it's very dark, and I'm just curious if you could, and there's a lot of young kids on it, I'm just curious what that atmosphere is like on the actual set, given that the dialogue and everything is so dark.
That is an interesting question to address, and I'm going to try to be as frank as possible. No, I think a lot of people were probably put off by the Uber Lord of the Flies theme, but it goes back to something, nothing is done on any show unless it's cleared by higher up. And something that the president of the network said to me in my first meeting when he said, we got picked up for the first season, is that someone said to him that he feels, after being in this business almost 40 years, that art or television or films, if done well, society is living in some very coarse times right now. The world is in some very coarse times right now. We look at CNN right now with all the planes, what's happening in Gaza, television. We're not making this up. There's something gone awry. Okay? That would probably lead you to believe that where we are on the 100, 97 years is almost as if you turn on the television today, it looks like people are trying to accelerate what our characters have already unfortunately been doing. So I think Martin Penowitz was correct, is that the darker the show has to reflect the darkness in the world. And hopefully, like I've said before, that if that turns you off, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because that means you're human and you want to be better. Especially if you're sitting at home in the privacy of your home and you could be watching 999 other things for 42 minutes. But if you're taking a ride with us, people may think, oh, just a bunch of kids and bad behavior, and lawlessness and chaos. But yeah, if you turn your television on and you still have cable, and you turn on CNN, you're seeing children being blown up at the United Nations school. Who made that choice? Who made that choice? What brought it to that level where it's like, I don't care about women and children anymore. I'm gonna blow up a UN school. Not a military base, not a soldier. That's pretty coarse. That's pretty coarse. That's pretty inhumane, is it not?
Yeah.
So conversely, our show takes it there. And as I've always talked about it as a fan of Jason, is that if we're going to go there, you can't take something from someone, which is your humanity, even though you're watching it, and then not give them something back. Some form of, not just retribution, but redemption, or some mustard seed of hope. And that's where Chancellor YAH comes in. And even what you think his fate will be, his presence is still going to be very largely hopeful. Without saying spiritual, but very hopeful. Not perfectly moral, but hopeful. To remind everyone that we could be better.
Do you think that it's dark because...
Oh, it's more brutal.
No, I don't mean the show, but I mean the general universe of the Earth now. I mean, we're getting all this information. They blew up the burial site of Noah yesterday. But is it because we get instantaneous news, whereas I'm reading a book when Hitler was chancellor, where we weren't getting that news 20 seconds later. We were getting it 2 weeks later, and so it wasn't moving as fast, so reactions aren't as quick.
Well, there's two things that happen with the speed of light and technology. Unfortunately, there's a gentleman by the name of, you can research him by the name of Dr. John Fresco, who talked about cyber nearing, which means that at some point, if we don't address economic deprivation, we continue to have political systems that always end up corrupt. We're going to always have this stagnation of humanity. Someone is going to feel like they have to kill someone to get something.
It's somebody else's fault.
It's someone else's fault. And the inhumanity comes out of the fact that you have something I want. You're depriving me of something, land, resources, whatever it is. Now the problem with technology is, with this darkness, is that you have this. You have YouTube. So even with the work I do in West Africa, they're looking at Beyonce on their cell phone. But yet they're watching their brothers and sisters die from malaria, which should have been eradicated half a century ago. So what does one do with that when they're in those circumstances where you go and drop a laptop at some kiosk, some kind of generator where they can hook up, and they open up that beat up laptop and they're looking at this Kim Kardashian lifestyle and know that may share the same ancestry as they do, maybe 100 years apart, but she looks like them. The name sounds very familiar, but they're going to sleep with bombs whistling over their heads. The thing with the 40s is you didn't have access to what was going on in the world, negative or positively. So what does it do now? How do we take technology and make it better for all of humanity? Because we've pretty much collectively lost it out. We haven't used technology to the best of its ability for mankind, and I believe that's where Chancellor YAH was by being on the ark. The technology that he had, he was able to keep everyone at peace until the resources were becoming limited. And then the last place I'm sure he wanted to go was Earth, because of how we got out there. So the possibilities of knowing that you sit them back down, you may have to, like I said, time is a flat circle. You may end up repeating, unfortunately, the same thing. And that's where we are, too. Because when you're in space, you're surrounded by darkness. There's more darkness in space than it is on Earth. So there's more darkness surrounding us. So how do you continue to keep that light? You have to fight for it. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean physically? Or does it just mean holistically? And I think we're going to be exploring that quite a bit in season 2.
Okay. I was going to say, what was the most, because the Chancellor had such a heavy burden, what was the most challenging scene or for you to do in this first season?
The culling.
Okay, yeah.
And then finding out, because of all this human behavior,
that
it didn't have to be that way.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.